Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is rights. And I think we assume that we have guarantees of certain rights that in fact aren't guaranteed at all. And other rights that have been assured are being eroded, and we can not notice and then wake up one day and find that those rights that we've depended on are just gone. So I want to talk today about what it looks like to be paying attention to our rights and how we can support their existence. But before we get started, good morning, Rosalind, and good morning, Kimberly. So great to have you guys here with us this morning. Welcome, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us. We're going to be talking about rights and what does that even mean? Because I think it should be top of mind right now if it isn't. And before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs and flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules and electrons, and creating this brilliant beam of light from your. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's just gently press our palms together and very softly rub your fingers against your palms, just to feel that sensation. Allow yourself to really become present to that experience, the feeling of one hand on the other, and allow that sensation to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. So welcome. We're talking about rights. We're faced right now with a really big Supreme Court decision around Roe versus Wade, which has been the right to an abortion, which if we stand back from that without polarizing ourselves into right and wrong, on a very fundamental level, it's a right for a woman to be able to have autonomy over her body. And I know it's a very fraught topic, and I'm respectful of that. And I'm not going to take sides here, but what I am going to talk about is that we have certain very deep assumptions about the rights that we have. And these rights can be taken away. And in fact, we aren't assured of a number of these rights to begin with. So for instance, the right to, we would imagine that we have a right to clean water and clean air, and that we have right to water, period. Life can't sustain without water. Life can't sustain without air. We would assume that we have those rights to clean water and clean air. And in fact, this is not codified, except in 2 states in our whole country. Pennsylvania and I think Wyoming have in their constitution the right to clean water and clean air. And as we experience the world, we can it's really clear that we are at greater and greater risk of not having access to clean water and clean air. And without that being codified as a right, it can just disappear. And there are so many things. We believe we have a right to privacy, right? We believe we have a right to privacy, and yet we're aware that we've been surveilled by governments, but even beyond that, by Facebook, by Google, by social media, right? Our data is being collected and mined and farmed and utilized, and who knows what's happening with it, right? When we're driving, there are cameras on many corners that are capturing our actions. And so right to privacy, what does it mean? What does it mean? Do I have the right to make certain choices? Do I have the freedom of speech? We believe we have rights to freedom of speech, and yet we've seen unprecedented censorship on our social media channels, right? Where somebody's account can just get canceled, and we live in, what is it, cancel culture at this point, where even organizations that are focused on rights and freedom and seemingly virtuous causes are calling for censorship of certain factions or information that they deem disruptive. And it's a slippery slope. I know with the ACLU, I remember that the ACLU years ago, and probably still, went to court to defend the rights of a Nazi organization to protest or to have a march. And the thing is, the reason that the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, defended that is because when we start being selective about who gets to speak, what happens is that we open the door for all kinds of censorship. And we're living in such a profound example of all of that. There was incredible amounts of censorship with around COVID, of doctors with dissenting opinions, or doctors who had protocols that might help to treat COVID in different ways than the conventional conversation allowed. Rosalind says, when you say rights to clean water and air, does that mean access to those things? If so, then I think to what extent and who is making the laws to support that? So there is no guaranteed right to clean water or air, regardless of not even talking about access. So what that leaves wide open is the opportunity for corporate interests, or individuals for that matter, to pollute water streams and water supplies, for example, or air for that matter, without ramification, without consequence in so many cases. Because there may be laws. This is something to understand. When we talk about rights, I'm talking about the Bill of Rights in state and a federal constitution. And when we have something enshrined in the Bill of Rights, then the laws need to comply with those rights. Well, those things are not enshrined in the Bill of Rights, and therefore we can have laws that allow for pollution. We can have laws that punish pollution, but it doesn't have anything to do with fundamental rights. And so lawmakers come and go, different administrations come and go. And with that, the laws change. So the laws are a changing face of our government, whereas the Bill of Rights is more deeply enshrined, right? It's more deeply held. And so when we look at this this situation right now with Roe v. Wade and the ruling that was just recently leaked, what we're looking at, there's 50 years of precedent where women had a right to choose about what they were going to do with their bodies. And what I've heard, and I don't know if it's true or not true, but what I've heard from many sources is that more than 70% of the population believes that a woman should be able to make a private choice about bringing a life to term, bringing a fetus to term. And so Kimberly says, this is horrible. Maybe time to go to Wyoming. Well, I'll have to, good morning, Lisa, welcome, welcome. So Kimberly, understand that there's an organization, a woman who is just an amazing, amazing human being who has been championing something called the Green Amendment, where she has been very active with all different states to have them include in their state Bill of Rights the right to clean water, clean air, and a healthful environment. And this is a movement that we can all get involved in. You know, we can all be bringing awareness to the fact that we don't have these fundamental rights and that they need to be enshrined in our Bill of Rights, both statewide and federally. The strategy is to be getting these things implemented in states' bills of rights, and then when there's enough of a number of states that are on board, then to federalize it. So good morning, Gia. So good to be with you. You're not that late. Welcome, welcome. We're talking about rights and how we assume certain rights. And so this is another conversation, because as you know, I'm deeply and getting more deeply involved in this question around water and the water cycle and how we can heal the planet. And what's very disturbing is the way that our governments have been using and allowing the use of water and the depletion of the aquifers that sustain us. You know, that we have wasted so much water to extract gas, you know, fracking gas. We have wasted healthy water and destroyed water tables and destroyed the water itself in the process of doing that. So Kimberly, if you're interested in getting involved, go to, it might be, oh my gosh. Okay, so I'll find the link for you guys. Let me find it. The woman's name is Maya Van Rossum. And okay, Green Amendment. And There's a website called Green. Oh, this is for New Mexico. There's one for New Mexico Green Amendment. Here, I'll put that in the chat for you guys. And give me a second. Water is, Kimberly says, water is very important to me, and so to all of us. Yes, absolutely. We have no idea how important water is to us. And the thing is that we also are completely oblivious to what's happening globally to our water supply. And it's, as I'm learning more, I have to tell you, I'm horrified, and don't know really where to start. But I can tell you, I've been reading. Here's Maya's site for the Green Amendment. Just let me find it. Hold on one sec. Here you go. For the generations, that's where you can go and look at how you can get involved, Kimberly, with the Green Amendment. There's also a big movement of people that are in litigation around the rights of nature, which is really, really awesome, where nature is being fought for directly, like that rivers have a right to be clean, for example, and nature has rights in and of itself, in that we are not the only consideration on this planet. So, you know, when we talk about rights, we're not aware. I think that in our lifestyles, in our very anthropocentric lifestyles, our human focused lifestyles, our priorities are all about humans, right? For the most part, most of us. You know, it's like, how am I going to make a living? What's my house like? What kind of furniture do I have? What kind of car do I drive? What kind of clothes do I wear? You know, and life goes on until something radical happens, like what happened in Flint, Michigan, where their water supply was completely toxic. And then what happens? Then we start to get conscious of, oh, we live in a world where there are things that we rely on that are part of the natural world. And, you know, we just take these things for granted. I had occasion to attend an experiential Zoom call from an organization called Renourish. And I can tell you, this was such a powerful experience. It was called Renourish Studio. I'm going to give you a link for that too. And this is a sub-site of Farmer's Footprint, and Farmer's Footprint is all about regenerative agriculture. So here's another really awesome link. Anyway, it was fascinating to me because rather than starting with a presentation talking about all the deficits of the supply chain around food, which we don't even think of, right? We go to the store, we buy our food, we think we're doing great because we're buying organic, and maybe we're being aware of packaging and whatever. And then we go home and we eat our food and prepare it without really thinking about what's the food chain that's behind that. And so rather than having this whole presentation about all the horrors of our current food production cycle, they just ask questions like, what did you have for breakfast? And what was the food chain behind that breakfast that you had? You know, and what contribution did that make, and what detriment did it cause? You know, just like what were the impacts of the breakfast that you ate this morning? And it was such an eye-opening and heart-wrenching experience for me. You know, I had cooked, I got a new air fryer. So I cooked cauliflower, and I looked at the things that I used and the cauliflower itself and what might have had to happen for me to have those foods that I prepared, to have that on my plate. And it was devastating. It was devastating to realize that as conscientious as I'm trying to be, I'm a poster child for the problem, right? The problem in air quotes, but representative of the whole cycle. So Kimberly says, went to get eggs, more than $8. Wow. I had no idea that there's a bird flu and we're losing chickens. I was so sad. So Kimberly, you know, as we start paying attention to the food chain, they slaughter millions of chickens every time we have a bird flu. And the thing is, one of the reasons that these bird flus happen the way they do is because of the way that we treat these living sentient creatures by putting them in factory warehouses where they have no space to move. They're piled on top of each other. I mean, even when you buy eggs conscientiously that say free range, for instance, they may be free ranging inside a building on a cement floor. The sanitary conditions are horrific. These animals are put into these life circumstances that are not in any way conducive to life, no quality of life for these animals. It is disgusting. It is disgusting. I think there's a movie called Food Inc. That can, I mean, there's some really powerful and deeply disturbing documentaries out there about food and food production and our treatment of animals. It's a reason that a lot of people have become vegetarians, because of the system. The system that we have that devalues life and commodifies life and treats all these sentient creatures as commodities, and treats them as if they have no consciousness, no feeling, no being. It's truly a horror. And Lisa says, I'm not taking my birds outside due to the avian flu. It's probably a good idea to keep them inside, I guess. We have had avian flus over and over and over again, and you've seen it with all different kinds of animals. When there's swine flu, they kill millions of pigs that are also being treated and housed horrifically, like beyond the way that we would ever, if we believed that these creatures are sentient creatures, we would never, ever treat them that way that we treat them. It's heinous, it's criminal. So, you know, when we talk about rights, I think we get to be conscious about the assumptions that we make. You know, it's overwhelming. I get that it's overwhelming. I was reading a book. It was written in 2001 by Maud Barlow, called Blue Gold, and it's about water. And I'm not even 30 pages into this book. And I have to take it in really small doses because I don't know if it changes later in the book, but at this moment, it just paints such a bleak picture for our future when it comes to water and the abuses and the depletion of water on this planet. There's so many things for us to be concerned about, for sure. So Lisa says, I love chicken country. It's awful to see what they do. They clean out the pens once a year. The smell in some areas is disgusting. Yeah, I mean, if you guys are still eating chicken and you're not getting it from a farm that you know where they treat the animals well, you should go look up some of the chicken farming practices online. And that will certainly change your perspective and your willingness to support that, or even to eat that, because of the health dangers around it. Yeah, the same thing with cows and pigs, and just our national approach to livestock as a commodity. I mean, has justified horrific conditions for these animals. So unfortunately, we can't unknow a lot of these things as we learn them. And so there's so many areas that we could engage in for activism, and the world is calling for it desperately. So the bottom line for today is we have a lot of rights. We get to defend them. We get to protect them. We get to be aware of them and not take them for granted, because as we're seeing now, even rights of 50 years can be reversed. And don't think that this whole thing with Roe v. Wade stops with abortion. The thing that makes it so frightening is the deeper ramifications of it. So whether you're pro-abortion or anti-abortion, or what you want to be looking at is, where are you in regard to your right to life and your rights to choose? So I don't have time to read your air fryer comment here and food comment, Rosalind, but thank you. And I love this engagement every morning. I'm so grateful to you. So much love to all of you and so much appreciation. Let's protect and defend our rights and be grateful for them. With so much love, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. Please check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network. And until next time, so much love to you.